Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We're back. It's Tuesday. Is it Tuesday? Hang on a second. It's Tuesday, isn't it? We usually stream on it. It's Tuesday. We're going a day early this week. It is Tuesday. I'm so thrown by that. So look, we're going a day early. The good news is Bigman is here with his questions, with loads of data, and with his team selections. So we've got loads coming up for you in the next hour. Shout out to all those that are in the chat nice and early. Hello, team. Hello to all of our channel mods. Sokan is in. Nice to see the spanner by your name. CH is in nice and early as well. Freddie's with us. Geddy. Hello, team. Adam, JS. Thank you guys for joining. We've got so much to discuss today. Like questions, burning questions. Like we are looking ahead to FPL Guna is in. It's really early in Miami where Guna is. Hey, do you know Guna's son? Right, Guna's son plays for Inter Miami under, I'm going to guess 10s. Let me know. But he plays in the same team as Messi's son. Messi's son wears number 10. Guna's son wears number 9. And Guna's son has something like, I looked last night, something like 200,000 Instagram followers. And he's 10 years old. And he interviewed Luis Suarez the other day for Inter Miami. How cool is that? Anyway, long and short of it is, I'm going to go watch FPL Guna's son play football in a couple of weekends' time because I'm in Miami. So I can't wait for that, Guna, mate. And hopefully that evening, 6:30, I think Inter Miami plays at Nashville. I'm hopeful to go to the game. There we go. Roger's handle is there on screen if you fancy joining or following Roger on Instagram. Honestly, it's great content. Like seeing like sweet, cute little lad, proper baller, but linking with the club is really cool. Love that Suarez link. So should we get started on the big questions of the game week? So it's now time to start thinking about where we land with 34 and 35. So in today's show, we are going to show you actually, I know we're a week early, but it's good to see it, what a free hit game week 34 might look like. We're also going to see what a game week 35 wildcard might look like. We're also going to discuss the best 3 players to own from Liverpool, because of course they double in 34. The best Wolves players, the best Palace players. Now remember, Wolves and Palace are two of a handful of teams that double in 34 with nice doubles, right? I mean, Wolves, I think, play Arsenal, Bournemouth, but both are at home. Palace, I think, play Newcastle and West Ham both at home. Really good doubles, certainly for Palace there. So with that in mind, I think we have to discuss those key teams, those key players. So I'm looking forward to going through some data with you guys. But first, I want to answer some quick fire questions. So if anyone's got a question in the chat that's maybe of interest to the masses, don't ask me too niche a question. It's got to be appealing. But we'll put that on ice, the questions, because Big Man Backer is in the house. Big Man, how are you, mate?
Thanks for having me, Jenny. Hello, and welcome to all the listeners and viewers. Yeah, I'm good. It's been a great week for me. 79 points. I'm obviously feeling over the moon. Much needed after the shenanigans of last week.
Yeah.
But I sold Foden before his hat trick. So this week I've sort of bounced back. I'm really, really happy with the performance. Pedro Porro did really well. I got in Sarabia. So yeah, it was a big green arrow. I'm now 16K. I'm sitting really pretty.
With you had such a good week. Like, You had Sarabia's bench jam. That so gutted you got bench jam and I didn't. You had Porro. I mean, that is well played for keeping the faith with Porro, because so many had sold him in the last month, and you got huge 3 bonus points as well as the goal. Like, the goal was clearly coming. And then obviously you had double Arsenal defense, which again, double Arsenal defense for you. We say it every week, like a broken record.
Double Arsenal defense has been the highlight of my season. Like literally, I got Saliba in from game week 12, and I don't know, God knows how many weeks I've just profited from double clean sheets. I mean, everyone has Gabriel, so Saliba is like basically my extra faith in the Arsenal defense. But coming to the bench jam, I did not have bench jam. Just to correct you, I got Sarabia in. No, I sold Richarlison because he wasn't expected to
You sold
start.
Richarlison. Sorry, I
Yeah,
was
I played
thinking maybe
Sarabia.
Richarlison was coming off your bench for Sarabia. No, that's who
No,
you
no.
transferred, right?
Yeah. That's the transfer I made. I sold Richarlison. I got Sarabia in. I didn't have Foden actually. A lot of people were getting Sarabia in for Foden. I didn't have Foden, so I
Yeah.
played Sarabia in my 11.
Right. Oh, well played. Really well played. I mean, if
Cheers.
Aït-Nouri had stayed on the pitch, you may have even got some more Sarabia points because the Wolves just went to rubbish as soon as he went off. Like, they were on a clean sheet, they were winning the game, they were looking threatening, and it just, yeah, for me, it was a shocking week because I had Aït-Nouri.
As soon as he came up, I did think about you because in the previous podcast we discussed Aït-Nouri, and I sort of suggested that you go for double Arsenal defense
Yeah.
if you were going to go with one. And then when Aït-Nouri got the assist, I was like, oh, this is like a 12-pointer coming for Jani. And then he got subbed with the injury. Had that injury happened like 5 or 6 minutes later, you would have jammed out with let's say a 10, 11, 12-pointer maybe.
Yeah, 5 minutes was all I needed. He went off at 55 and they conceded at 70 or whatever. So yeah, I also had double Bournemouth defense on for double clean sheets at like 70 plus minutes. And annoyingly on my bench, I had Zabani come off for his 1 point, not Mateta's 5, because my bench order was rubbish. And I had Dubravka's 9 points on the bench, and Neto obviously conceded. So that Bournemouth clean sheet wipeout was massive for me. Like, that was a 12-point swing in itself because there was bonus points due. But it is what it is. Next week looks promising. And I guess with the Foden news, big man, what would you have done? I heard the leak. Like, I didn't react to it. Some heard the leak and sold Foden. Some heard the leak and benched Foden. I started Foden because I was like, there's a good chance he doesn't come off the bench. And if he does, there's a good chance that cameo is half an hour and he gets points. So I gambled. What would you have done?
I think it for a lot of people, it depended on their bench. And let's say if you didn't have a bench and if you had Foden, I would have sold him, despite the fact that he had Luton this week, and that was the carrot now, right? That because he had his rest against Palace, and because the turnaround was generous, it's a Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday turnaround for Manchester City, and because of that, I think there's every chance that Foden starts again at the weekend. So ideally, I would have liked to keep him for that fixture, but in case of inadequate bench cover, I would have sold him.
Yeah,
because the options were nice as well, right? I mean, they were the likes of Luis Diaz, Sarabia, even Odegaard was fine. All these guys, they were good replacements.
Havertz, I could have gone to Havertz. Yeah. Havertz was the only person Havertz was the only person I looked at. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking about buying Havertz and keeping Ollie Watkins. And if I'd done that, a huge week it would have been for me. But it is what it is. I have Foden. All I thought when I heard the Foden benching straight away was, great, he starts versus Luton. I just think of the positives, and it's like, yeah, I get him for Luton, which it could be massive, and I'm pumped for this weekend.
I think he's an excellent differential because his ownership was low in the first place anyway, and now the people who had him have sold him, so you're in a good position.
Yeah, even going into that 20-pointer he still had 70,000 net transfers out going into that 20-pointer. Like, people are selling Foden because he doesn't double in 34. Just with that, one other reason why I would never considered selling Foden, and this is a more general point about team value. I've got a lot tied up in Foden, and I know when I wildcard, I'll be bringing him back. So that gives me, like, say, 0.5 less to spend on wildcard. How much do we consider that when we're selling players in game week 34, knowing we're dead ending, if we're buying them back? So if you're selling Son or Haaland and you're bringing them back, like, selling Haaland for me is way easier than selling Son and Foden, because I've got no money tied up in Haaland, or like 0.1. With the other guys, if I've got like 1 million in them, I'm going to lose 0.5 if I buy them back. And I am going to buy them back.
It is a good point. Personally, I think we're at that stage of the season where team value isn't as important personally, but let's say if you're in a 50-50 decision, then team value could be that extra 1%er that you add to just convince yourself towards a decision. I'm personally not taking into account in any of my decisions from now on in. I think the team in game week 35 will be very affordable anyway, because the likes of Garnacho, Palmer, they make the game week 35 wildcard very achievable, even with the bench boost for 37. Remember, we won't be buying the likes of Salah, Darwin,
Trent.
Virgil, Trent, because Liverpool don't have a double in 37. So I think affording a team for the bench boost in 37 with the wildcard 35 would be affordable anyway. So I'm not really taking team value into account as much.
Interesting. I mean, look, Man City, of course, have the doubles. De Bruyne, Haaland could be an expensive combination if you want to go down that route. Bruno Fernandes doubles. So I still think you're right. Like, it doesn't look like an expensive team. But how often do we get to wildcard and go, if I only had 0.1, if I only had 0.2? We could be talking about having an extra million if we hold on to players like Foden and Son during 34. So I think it does still play a part for me. But as you say, as the weeks go on in FPL, team value matters less. Every single week we get close to the end of the season, team value should matter less to you. Let us know in the chat what your thoughts are with team value. Guys, thank you for all your likes and subscribes. Shall we get to some of our big questions of the day? Where do you want to start, big man? We've got game week 34 free hit. We've got wildcard 35. We've got best Liverpool players, best Wolves players, best Palace players.
I think let's cover game week 34 in detail. Let's start with Liverpool because they're like the main top talking point of the week where a lot of people are looking to buy Liverpool players. Let's start with Liverpool. Best 3 Liverpool to own in game week 34. Where do you stand in this?
I mean, a lot centres around Trent and his availability. And we are fortunate that we have a Thursday night game for Liverpool. And let's see, like, if Trent's not in the squad on Thursday, then he's probably not. He's not starting at the weekend. Like, Trent's first appearance back is going to be off the bench, surely. And then there's the big: is it Darwin or Diaz? Question. So I guess that like, at the moment for me, I'm going to own Darwin, I'm going to own Salah, and I've got Bradley, but I'm willing to swap Bradley like for Trent if I think he's going to start both in the double. But a lot of that comes down to availability. The benefit is the Atalanta games. We get 2 Atalanta games before 34. I think. Is it the Europa League either side of 33? Or is the Europa's second leg wedged between the 34?
I think you're right, because Europa is this week, right? And then it's supposed to be next week as well. So we'll have a better idea of which 3 to get by that point. The rough idea for this question is that a lot of people are looking to, let's say, triple up on the Liverpool attack, or they're considering going for, let's say, one of Diaz or Darwin along with Salah and a defender. So which combination do you prefer? In my opinion, personally, I would rather go with the defender, and I think that's got to be Van Dijk, simply because with doubts over Kanate, Robertson for rotation, and with doubts over Trent's fitness and Bradley, I think I'd go with Van Dijk simply because he's the only guy I'd expect to play the maximum amount of minutes. Even Kelleher could be at risk if Alisson is back by that point. We don't really know at this stage. So I think Van Dijk is simply the best answer there. And Salah obviously picks himself. And apart from Salah, it's one of Diaz or Darwin. And it's very difficult to answer that question right now because whoever gets rested, let's say next week in the Europa game, is very likely to get both games in the double.
Yeah, I think so. And it's going to be really interesting how the first leg goes on Thursday. Like, can Liverpool create a bit of a margin, and then the second leg you can play Gakpo? I don't know. It's going to be really interesting. I mean, Atalanta are no mugs. They've played really well in recent weeks in Serie A.
As of now,
go on.
As of now, Gianni, do you think that the front 3, Diaz, Salah, Darwin, all start against Atalanta?
I'm not sure. I think there's a chance Gakpo comes in and Darwin. I think we're all surprised Darwin started the last 3 in the Premier League. Like, the reason we didn't all buy Darwin 3 game weeks ago was we looked at that schedule and thought he's going to miss one of them. He's not. He's actually started all 3, which I think was surprising. I wonder if now he misses Thursday night and Gakpo comes in. By the time
I think the rest is coming.
Around,
if he doesn't miss Thursday night, I think there's a good chance he misses the weekend.
He's missing one of the
I think the
next
rest
2.
is coming.
There's no way
for sure.
5 on the bounce in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
So owners should be cautious there. But even trying to predict his minutes, I'm watching Luis Diaz and going, is Luis Diaz not the best option here? Like, Luis Diaz is getting more minutes than Darwin anyway because he's first choice on the left and he's playing well. He had a really good international break. And Darwin, again, we saw a little good spell before he got injured against Brentford. We took that one-on-one lob so well over Flecken. And we were thinking, the last couple of weeks he's been finishing really well. He's upped his game. If we rewind just to the last fortnight, we're seeing same old Darwin. A ton of chances, but missing the target a lot. And I just wonder if Diaz is a better punt.
His decision-making wasn't great. But again, I think the same applies for Diaz as well in terms of the security of starts. I think with Jota likely to be back in parts of team training this week, I think Jota might get some minutes in 34 as well. I don't think Jota will start in 34, but he will get minutes in 34, I think, in at least one of the 2 games.
As will Gakpo.
I don't think I say exactly. I just don't think that both of Darwin and Diaz will start both games. I think one of them will miss a fixture, and it's at this point in time it's very difficult to say who that will be. And I think this week's fixture will give us a clue, because I think both are at high risk this week as well. I'm really not sure about their minutes this week at all, actually.
Yeah, it's Fulham away, Everton away in the doubles. They're good fixtures. They're not amazing fixtures, but the ones you want to have triple Liverpool for. So when we look at some of the numbers, this is just looking at the last handful of game weeks, 28 to 32. In terms of the non-pen XGI per 90, Salah's highest. I think that's probably what you expect, because that includes the 12 shots in that one game against Brighton. But Diaz is clocking higher XGI, higher XG even, than Darwin. That's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a bit of a surprise, but again, it's a small sample, so the variance in small samples can be big. So I'm not really sure whether that trend will continue, because we've seen over a large period of time that Darwin is the guy who gets the majority of the big chances and who gets the tons of XG when it comes to Liverpool. Usually, it's even higher than Salah when it comes to non-pen XGI for Darwin. So I think this is a bit of an anomaly as opposed to a trend, which we're likely to see in the weeks to come. And as you can see, McAllister is below the 3, which is something you'd expect anyway.
Yeah, possibly a trend, but Salah hasn't quite looked his best since his injury. I think that would be fair to say, wouldn't it? Like, he was poor against Man United in terms of what you expect from Salah in a game where Liverpool have so much dominance.
I agree. I mean, he still hasn't hit the same heights that we've seen from him in the past. But again, I don't think that should matter when it comes to FPL, because he's still clocking high amounts of XG, and he's still getting the chances. It's only a matter of time before he puts them away.
Yeah. Okay. Remember, the XG does involve penalties, which is why Salah's got higher XG than his XGI. Let's move away from... Well, okay, let's just summarise with Liverpool then. What 3 do you think here and now... I'll go first, big man, to give you a little bit more time, because I've thought about this. What 3 do you think you'll own in game week 34 if you're pushed? I think I'll end up going Haaland out to Darwin if I see a Darwin benching before 34, which I think I'll see. I'll have Salah, and I think there's a chance I hold Bradley, going he's going to play one of them and maybe features in both, because I'm not sure Trent's going to be back starting both in 34. So at the moment, I think I'm probably going to end up on Bradley, who might only just play the one game. I think I'll stick with Salah, of course I will. And I think because it's easier to accommodate Darwin than Diaz for me, I think I'll go Darwin, because with my midfield spots, I'm eyeing up a different transfer there.
I think Darwin is actually better than Diaz, but again, it's very difficult to say at this point in time. Statistically, Darwin is better. That's what I'm going to say. As of now, if I was picking 3 from Liverpool, I think Virgil, Salah, and Darwin would be the 3 I'd go for, personally.
Yeah. So that's 2. You think you'll make those transfers, though? Do you think you'll have to triple up? Because you obviously don't have Virgil or Darwin. So that's 2 transfers to bring those 2 players in.
I don't think I'll have both. I think I'll have one. And as of now, it's likely to be Virgil, simply because I'm more sure about his minutes. So again, it comes down to a combination of players you're selecting for 31, right? For 34, right? So for my team, for example, it's basically Virgil plus Haaland versus Darwin plus Zabarni in 34. And I would rather go with the first option.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't see you going without Haaland. But let's see. I think you'll want.
I'm open to sell. I'm open to selling Haaland. I actually prefer Darwin to Haaland, but the issue is that if I do that transfer, then I'll have to play Zabarni, which is what I don't like. That's the issue.
It's easier for me to sell Haaland though, because I also have Foden, so I can still cover that Man City attack. But here's one for you. You'd play Foden over Zabarni, right? Like, Zabarni has a double game week. You'd play Foden in single game week versus Zabarni's double, would you? I think I will.
I would as well. Yeah. I just don't expect a clean sheet. Is the thing, right? It's Villa away and it's Wolves away for Bournemouth. I don't expect a clean sheet there.
Yeah.
Maybe some saves for Neto at best. True. Is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, and with Zabarni, there is 0 upside despite our goal recently. Okay, well, look, that was really interesting looking at some of the data from the Liverpool players. If you're enjoying the show so far, please do hit those buttons, likes and subscribes. And any questions that are on topic, we will always bring up. So, we're going to move to Wolves and Crystal Palace now. Let's have a look. Okay, well, we'll stick with the Liverpool with a Liverpool question, seeing as we're still on that topic. From Evan says, if Trent is subs against Atalanta, yeah, if he starts versus Crystal Palace, if he sub against Atalanta, start to get 60 against Crystal Palace, then yeah, he'll be in my 34 team.
I think I agree, because by the time Liverpool play Atalanta next week, you'll have a much better idea of Trent's minutes, and then you can make your selection in 34. And even if Trent gets like a start against Palace, I'd be tempted to go there. Having said that, I still think Bradley gets a game, Johnny. I
Really?
do think Bradley gets a game. Yeah, in 34. I don't think Trent will be rushed in as such where he'll play back-to-back games in succession. I can see the upside with him. So I like Trent, but I still have my concerns regarding his minutes. And that's why I'm very high on Virgil right now, because I just think that the Trent's minutes are very dicey. And on a free hit, I would just rather go with the guy who I know will play, as opposed to the guy who might play one, might miss the other.
Yeah, I think it's fair enough. Matthew says, only have one spot left for my midfield for 34. Who would you choose? Havertz or Luis Diaz? Personally, I think Havertz. Should we talk a little bit about Arsenal? Because I think we've also got some numbers on Kai. I mean, where would you land on this, big man? And what are your thoughts on Havertz? Because my thoughts are he's going to be in my 34 team. I can go there because I don't have double Arsenal defence. And I think that's a differential move that I should make the most of. The one silver lining to not having the double Arsenal defence means I can punt on an Odegaard or a Havertz in 34, and they could come in big. Big man, you can't do that easily because you've got double Arsenal defence. You're not going to change around your Arsenal assets. That'd be foolish. But what's your take?
Yeah, I think I prefer Havertz from the two because, again, as we mentioned before, I think Diaz would miss a game. I don't think Havertz will miss a game because even when we've seen Jesus back, he's playing on the left and Havertz is playing centrally, and he's playing really, really well.
Yeah.
I think he's had, 10 goal involvements in the previous 7 or 8 games. So he's clearly in form and he's getting the chances, being the focal point of the attack. I would consider Odegaard as well. I don't think it's
Me too.
It's okay to write off Odegaard. I really like Odegaard as a pick, actually. We've seen him take pens even in the absence of Saki's on set pieces. He just has plenty of routes to point. So I think the thing with Odegaard is he gets one assist or goal and he generally just mops up the bonus. That's what I really like about him. So for me, it's very close between Odegaard and Havertz. And even though Havertz is slightly better statistically, it's just that Odegaard, I just have a feeling that he has more routes to points. I would definitely consider him as well. And I think as of now, if I was making a 34 team, free hit team, I think Odegaard would be in it. We'll discuss it later in the show.
I think if they were the same price, I'd be picking Odegaard. But money might be important there. And there is a big price difference between the two, which is quite surprising. Havertz was priced so low because he hasn't been great for Chelsea in the last few seasons. Are we worried, Bill says, about Saka in the coming weeks? Is it worth just noting that Saka does clearly have an ongoing issue?
Yeah, he mentioned it himself, actually, that he has this issue going on. And it's just that the title race is too important. I mean, there's so much to play for. I just don't think we can see him missing a game at this point in time, especially when you look at the fixtures. Arsenal have Villa, which is not the easiest of fixtures. I don't think that's a fixture where Arteta can afford to rest him in. It's not like Arsenal playing Luton like they were in previous midweek, where Arteta chose to rest him. So I think he'll be fine personally, unless he gets injured again.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean, he is going into... Saka's been wrapped up in cotton wool in recent weeks because of his injury. So he missed the international break, so he didn't play for England. Then we saw him miss a game in the Premier League we didn't quite expect. Now he's going into a phase of games where I'm not so sure Arteta's going to feel comfortable resting him because it's big must-win games. Now, sure, they were before, but they were perhaps easier games. Like Champions League now, he's about to play Bayern Munich twice in the next week. So let's watch Saka very carefully in the Champions League and see where we sit for the Premier League. But I understand a few that sold Saka to Odegaard in recent weeks just because they can't be bothered with that headache and they feel like this might be an issue that continues. So let's monitor that. Havertz in general, big man. If you're me and you have one Arsenal available slot, you go double Arsenal attack for the double, don't you? Whether it's Havertz or Odegaard, the fixtures are there for Arsenal in the double, aren't they? Do we like them for goals? I'm not sure I love them for clean sheets, but then I forget how good Arsenal defence are. They clean against bloody Man City away.
Arsenal defense is elite. I still think if I was on free hit in 34, I would go with double attack over double defense. I just think the
Okay.
upside is there. I've benefited usually from the Arsenal defense, but I still think in 34 alone, if I was going for one, I would go with an attacker over a defender. I think you
Yeah.
can go with other defenders as well. For example, I mean, someone like a Palace keeper could be fine. You don't exactly need Raya. Similarly, someone like a Tarkowski or Mikolenko could do well with the Forest fixture at home that Everton have.
Yeah.
Everton have actually conceded. They've actually kept the highest number of clean sheets after Arsenal this season, which is crazy in itself.
Sean Dyche, baby.
They're
That's what
actually
he
a really
does.
good defense.
That's what he does.
Exactly, and exactly, and I find it annoying because I picked Pickford in game week 1, and till game week 9 or 10, I had him for weeks, and he didn't do jack all for my team.
Yeah. Oh, Neil's in the house. Neil says, "Is there a chance Madison could be suspended for the punch?" I might be wrong. Let me know in the chat. But I think they can't retrospectively ban when referees have looked at it. I think it's for stuff that's missed. Or have I got that completely wrong? Knowing it went to VAR, I don't think we'd see that overruled. But maybe, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's precedent or not for something like that. I think we're fine. Should we move on to Wolves and Palace? Because I think we have to look at Wolves and Palace because so many out there. Firstly, those that are free hitting in 34, I think will look at Wolves and Palace assets. Those that aren't free hitting in 34, we're absolutely going there with free transfers. Everyone's going to have at least one player from these teams, I think, if they can accommodate. So I've got Mateta and Aït-Nouri in place. I probably aren't going to buy any more, but I've got cover there. So let's have a look at some of the options, shall we? I think we've got some data to show. I mean, in general, big man, who do you like?
Well, I have Sarabia already, so he's one that I think is a good pick. I was actually worried when I was buying Sarabia that the return of Wang or Cunha could maybe affect his minutes, but Cunha has been eased in. I think it's been 3 games consecutively since he's been close to being in the squad or starting, and he hasn't really gotten any substantial minutes.
Yeah.
And I think the same pattern will be followed with Wang as well. I don't think Wang will start a game in 34. So I think Sarabia should be fine. And in the absence of Cunha, as long as Cunha is not on the field, he's probably going to be on pens. He scored this week. And Neto isn't around either. Pedro Neto, he's injured. So he's on set piece as well. So I like Sarabia the most from the Wolves assets. I know Aït-Nouri is playing in the front three and like he does have a certain degree of upside. But personally for me, when it comes to defenders, the bread and butter will always be clean sheets. And I just don't think Wolves will keep a single clean sheet from now on until 34. So I don't really like the Aït-Nouri pick. I know you have him, Shani, but I don't really rate him as much. I think he's good for attacking returns, but
his XGI, bearing in mind loads of these games from 26-32 have been playing at left back, his XGI is the same as Sarabia's. Non-pen.
Yeah, that's fine, but you have to compare him with the other defenders that are available, right? So when you're comparing him to someone like an Arsenal defender, he just does not cut the bill because he doesn't make the cut because Arsenal's offense is elite. I mean, even when you don't compare him to Arsenal defense, even when you compare him to someone like, let's say, a Palace defender. I think a Palace defender actually beats Aït-Nouri next week. But simply, I just don't think Wolves are going to keep a single clean sheet. You look at their fixtures; they're not cleaning.
He's going to get 2 goals. He doesn't need a clean sheet. He's going to get 2 attacking returns in the double.
Yeah, but asking for 2 goals is a stretch, right? Realistically, you can get an assist or so, which so 1 clean sheet from any of the Palace or Everton guys, and basically match Aït-Nouri. So Aït-Nouri is fine, but he's not someone I would definitely want to get in my team, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I was desperate for him. I was desperate for him, and I was so robbed. I was so robbed with just the 4 points.
Were you? I mean, had he stayed on the field and played 90 minutes, then he would have still gotten like 5-6 points?
No, if he had stayed on the field, he could have very easily kept a clean sheet. Like, who's to say Wolves don't concede just because he goes off? Like, if he's on the pitch, we have no idea. There's a very good chance of keeping a clean sheet.
That's half an hour of football to play.
They were doing fine in the first
the other way as well.
And he was on for
bonus. The other way as well.
And attacking returns galore, mate.
I can see him getting like 1 or 2 attacking returns in the next 3 fixtures. I'll give you that. Yeah, he's probably gonna get another assist or something in the week.
If he's
Simply
fit,
he's
I
so
mean, we don't
attacking.
even know if he's fit. He might. He's a calf strain.
That's
We
the
don't even
thing.
know if he's available this weekend. Like,
Yeah, that's a good point. When it comes to Palace, I like Palace a lot more than Wolves. When I'm looking at their players, I already own Mateta, but I still think Eze is clearly the clear pick from Palace
yeah,
if you're picking one. And I think
yeah.
I'm going to buy Eze in 34 in my team as well. Irrespective of what I do this week, I think Eze is a shoo-in in my team in 34. I
If
just like
Elise
him a lot.
plays
Set pieces,
33,
penalties. I like Eze a lot more. Penalties
yeah,
swing it, man. Penalties are big. Yeah. I like Olise, but not when you compare him to Eze. Olise is a good pick in his own right, though. I like Olise. I like Mateta. I think both of them are perfectly fine.
yeah.
And even though Palace aren't the most exciting team, the fixtures are still all right. They're playing West Ham at home. They're playing Newcastle at home. I'd expect them to score once in both fixtures. So I think you're perfectly fine if you're buying a Palace Met. I really like Eze. And then maybe one of Mateta or Lisa could be fine. But Eze is definitely one I think a lot of people should consider, especially those who have Son and are keeping him this week, and then they can easily sell Son next week. Similarly, those with Foden,
Yeah.
Foden could go for Eze in 34 as well. Even Palmer has a tough fixture next week. Who are Chelsea playing next week? I think it's City, right? No, it's not City. It's a
Please
tough
no.
fixture though.
Can't
No,
type
it's a
that.
tough fixture. I don't remember.
I'll have a
It's
look.
Arsenal away. Yeah, I saw the fixture. It's Arsenal away. Yeah, exactly. So I think Palmer could be sold there as well, especially if you're
Yeah,
wildcarding in
I'm
35.
planning on benching Palmer 34.
Yeah, I'll be benching him as well. But I'm just giving different options for people with and without Sun, right? If you have
Yeah.
Sun, it's an easy move. So yeah, Eze is one I really like next week, and it's sort of unfortunate that Palace's fixtures before 34 weren't great. I mean, they had City this week, and now they're playing Liverpool, so we haven't really considered a lot of their options as yet. But I still think they can have a big part to play in 34. And I think if you are on a free hit 34, I'd go with two of their attackers, probably Eze and one of Olise Mateta.
Okay, we'll have a look at that free hit 34 draft in just a sec. I think if Elise plays in 33, I'd be tempted on Elise in 34. And Crystal Palace just scored 2 goals at the Etihad. Like, their attack ain't bad. Under the new manager, they're encouraged to attack a little bit more. Jordan Ayew needs to come out that team. Elise in it, and it looks like an Eze, Elise Mateta combination could be quite fun. We do have just quickly on goalkeepers. Henderson is worth noting because he'll get a lot of love because, again, we like Crystal Palace's double. Could they keep a clean sheet? Are you shopping for a goalkeeper? Is worth noting, Henderson, I mean, he hasn't played much. He's now number one because Johnson's out for the rest of the season. Henderson did look good, but he is conceding 2 goals on average a game. But that's a very small sample size. Kelleher, we don't know if he'll be around. And Wolves, we're just not really backing for clean sheets. So let's have a look at the free hit 34 then, big man, that you are looking at if you had a free hit, but also just with free transfers. This is a squad we might be able to get fairly close to. You have gone with that double Palace midfield. I think there's probably no complaints there in the attack. Any big names missing? I mean, no Havertz, you've got Odegaard. Your 3 Liverpool, the ones we discussed earlier. You've gone for an Everton defender, which is interesting. Who's their double game week? Forest and Liverpool.
I think that the only mistake in this image is that I've actually picked double Everton defense. I think I had Mikulenko over Porro. So that's the only mistake in this draft. But apart from that, of course, Porro won't be there because Spurs are blanking 34. But yeah, I think one Everton defender is fine, and Gabriel and Virgil pick themselves. So I'll be starting a 3-4-3 in the double with Taylor on the bench, with the second Everton defender on the bench, and with Olise on the bench. And apart from that, I really, really like it. So as mentioned earlier, I'm starting in goal with Henderson. Out of all the lesser teams that are doubling apart from Arsenal and Liverpool, I think Palace are the best fixtures.
Yeah,
when you look at their fixtures, West Ham at home, Newcastle away. Henderson should be good for saves as well. So I like the look of Palace. They generally tend to concede plenty of low XG shots. So this is good for FPL because you can then benefit from saves. I think Gabriel picks himself. Virgil, because of the reasons mentioned earlier, picks himself because I just don't think that both of Diaz and Darwin will start both games in 34. I think one of them will miss out. And as of now, I think it will be Diaz. In that case, I think Virgil makes a lot of sense. Similarly, Tarkowski, due to his goal threat, is in the selection. Home fixture against Forest. He could be, replaced by Mikulenko. It's fine. You're basically, there's not much between them.
Yeah.
And then in the attack, Saka, Salah, they're obvious. We've spoken about Eze. And then I've gone with Odegaard. This could be Havertz, I guess. I just personally prefer Odegaard more because of his bonus potential, chance creation, more routes to points. And then up front, I've gone with Solanke, Darwin, and Haaland. I think they're probably the best forward stone. I know Bournemouth aren't as fashionable as they were a few weeks back, but I still think the fixtures are okay from a attacking point of view.
Yeah.
I mean, Villa away, Wolves away. I would still expect Bournemouth to score in both fixtures, and if that is the case, then I'd expect Solanke to be involved.
I'm trying to work out if I'd go Solanke or not. I'm not sure if I would, but there is not so many options
out of
up
favor,
front.
Right?
Yeah,
he's sort of fallen out of favor in the FPL community, right? It's not exactly fashionable. A lot of wildcarders haven't picked him, but I still think he can come good.
Yeah, I think he'll have a good end of the season. But I just think we look at Bournemouth quite often as a fairly low ceiling team, and therefore he's not the most exciting brace potential pick. But sometimes you just pocket those 7-8 pointers and you should be very happy with them. Haaland, is he needed on free hit?
I mean,
money's not an issue.
Money's not an issue. I guess you can bench him for Elise. That's fine as well, honestly.
I'd be tempted. I think I'd be tempted to bench him for Elise. If we thought Elise was getting 2 starts, I'd be tempted.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. You can bench him in this draft.
Yeah.
I've just gone with this as the rough template that I have in mind for 34.
No,
I don't think a lot of game week 34 free hitters will be picking Haaland. I think their draft will more or less be similar, but yeah, effectively you're comparing Haaland to someone like an Elise, and if you think that Elise is going to start both fixtures, then yeah, it sounds a bit crazy, but yeah, it could make sense simply because you expect Palace to do well as well in the two fixtures.
Slim pickings for strikers here. When we look at putting Solanke and Haaland in, our other options, so Liverpool we've got covered. Arsenal, you could put Gabriel Jesus in, but he's playing wide left. Bournemouth, Solanke. Crystal Palace double, you could go Mateta, but then maybe you just go Eze and Elise, better picks. Wolves, you could go Cunha, who by 34, you probably expect 2 starts. But one of those fixtures is Arsenal. Everton, one of the fixtures is Liverpool, but maybe Calvert-Lewin is a bit of a left field punt. And then Sheffield United play Burnley and Man United, who are both terrible defences. You could punt even on a Sheffield United player attacker, just because the fixtures are actually quite good for them. And they did just clock, 1.8 XG or something against Chelsea. I actually don't mind as a Sheffield United attacker, maybe Diaz in midfield who plays up front for a free hit differential. I don't hate it. I'm not going to be going there, but I don't hate it. They'll score goals against Burnley, and I reckon they get a goal against Man United.
But again, Gianni, you were comparing them effectively to the likes of Solanke and Elise, right? And surely those teams are more reliable, more proven.
It's more if you don't want Haaland than you want to go for doubler.
I sort of get the point where you say that Solanke and Elise don't exactly have the best of ceilings. But surely a Sheffield United attacker, his ceiling is much, much, much lower.
Burnley, baby.
So might as well avoid them. Burnley are better than them. I have Burnley to win that fixture in my book if I was predicting.
Yeah. No, they're the better footballing team, and this will be more like a championship game where the better.
They beat them 5-0 last time. Remember? They beat them 5-0. They're a better team.
Yep. Free hit draft. Yeah, that looks all right. Not bad. I think we've got if McBurney is in there, thank you, 24K Will. I think we've got a question about bench boost. Yeah, from CH. Would you bench boost 34, 37? So team dependent, but both of us are very pro bench boosting 37. That's what me and Bigman are doing. But it's, of course, squad dependent. Let's move on because we're fairly short on time.
I just want to sort of elaborate and just give me a minute to answer this question. It's mainly because of the chip strategy, right? So a lot of us are, we have Palmer. A lot of people can easily get Garnacho. We won't need Salah in 37, so getting 15 doublers is easier. I think even if you have the wildcard or don't have the wildcard left, irrespective of chip strategy, I just think bench boost 37 works better in terms of affording the optimal bench boost draft. That's what I want to talk about. Just one more thing, Danny. Another thing in this draft is that there's no Wolves. One of the reasons we haven't picked Wolves is that they're playing Arsenal in 34. We don't necessarily expect their attackers to have a high ceiling. I think you can probably count that as an Arsenal clean sheet in that fixture. The fixture against Bournemouth is fine, but the main appeal with Sarabia is not the double in 34 itself, but it was actually the fixtures before it. So it was Burnley away in the previous week. It was the West Ham fixture this week, and then Forest away. But this is one of the reasons we don't have a Wolves attacker or Wolves defender in this draft.
I wouldn't change much, but I think I would be. I'd have Aït-Nouri, but other than that, I think you've got it pretty spot on there, mate. We'll do another free hit draft next week, and we'll see where we'll land if it's much different. We'll just quickly see a wildcard 35 team. Although actually, no, we'll come to that at the end of the show. I think we should show Bigman's team selection now because we usually do that at this point in the show. So let's have a look at where you sit for your team, Big Man. You've just let us know what you're doing with your chip strategy, but let's see your team selection this week and what transfer you're making, where you're putting the armband, etc., etc. I don't know if we've got your team. We can talk about it.
I haven't sent the team. I think I did, or did I forget about it?
Well, if not, send a screen grab of it and we can get it on.
I'll send a screen grab immediately.
Just send a screen grab, yeah. And when you're doing that, we will just show then that wildcard 35 team. So I'll talk us through the wildcard 35 team Big Man's put together. This will probably change come 35, but might not have too many changes. You can clearly see what we're doing here. We are binning off those that don't have doubles. We're stacking up on those that double in 37. And of course, we're investing in Chelsea and Spurs because they double. How close do you reckon your wildcard will be to this, Big Man? Because I look at it and go, that's going to be very similar to my wildcard. Like, they're all the main bases covered. And players like Nico Jackson, I might just be punting on because the 5 fixtures against others, 3 fixtures, it just seems like a no-brainer.
Because I just want to just quickly talk through this draft. I've gone heavy on Spurs and Chelsea because they're doubling in 35. They're also doubling in 37.
Yeah.
I mean, Maddison could be Richarlison by the time if Richarlison sort of won that place back because Maddison isn't in form. But I mean, roughly this could be any Spurs mid, could be Brennan Johnson even.
Yeah.
And with the Newcastle defense, it's mainly to take advantage of Newcastle's home fixture at home to Sheffield United in game week 35. And then they have the double in 37. Exactly. And then
35,
exactly. So Isak is there as well. Burn and Share, I mean, one of them could be Trippier if Trippier is back by then, but I've picked these two. Burn should be safe, I think, with Trippier and with Livramento as well out for a while. Again, I've gone with the City defender. I think their fixtures are great. They have a double in 37. Gabriel sort of picks himself because of the consistency that he's offering. Petrovic and Onana sort of rotate well with each other. I could go with Ederson, but I'm not really sure about his injury either. So I've gone with Onana. They rotate well with each other. And then the likes of, the Palmer, Garnacho, they're the enablers. And then there's Haaland. So I think it's a very strong squad. And I think this draft will go big in 37. I really like it.
I guess there's an argument to consider Højlund rather than maybe Bruno or Garnacho, depending on budget. You could take Nico Jackson out, put Højlund in, and then maybe go for if we see starts for Madueke now off the back of his little good purple patch. For example, if we see Madueke starting for Chelsea up until this point, you could maybe go Madueke as 5.5 mid and then Højlund as a different Chelsea Man United combo.
Of course, this is just a template that
this will be the template, I think.
Exactly. I mean, 2 United attackers, 2 Chelsea attackers. I mean, you can choose to go different. You can pick a Chelsea mid over Chelsea attacker, United attacker over Chelsea mid over United mid. It's basically the same thing, right?
Same with Spurs. So, it might be Richarlison instead of Maddison or whatever.
Exactly. Richarlison, Johnson. I think the more or less it will stay the same. Same with Trippier. Trippier come in for Burn or whatever. If Diaz isn't looking nailed at that point, maybe someone like a Guardiola. So I think the spine of the draft, the core of the draft will more or less stay the same, even if the players change.
Where's Foden?
He's not in the draft. I mean, I've left that City spot open to see which player I want in 37. That's why I haven't picked him.
But he's about to play Forest and Wolves and then double. You got to get Foden in, mate. I'm pulling your chain.
Okay. That's actually a good point. That's actually a good point. I did think about it. I want to talk about it.
Yeah,
that's actually a very good point. I did think about it.
You've got money for De Bruyne if you want.
Exactly. I want to talk about this because Spurs are doubling, so you don't really want to sell the double Spurs mids. I mean, I guess I'm right in saying that. Similarly with Palmer, United have Burnley at home in 35. You want double attack, right? So where's Foden going to come in? Another thing I thought of is
sack off Maddison and have if Richarlison's around then you get that extra midfield spot. So if Richarlison comes up top. Foden goes
maybe.
Into midfield,
I mean, it could happen. It could happen. But again, I want to keep that third City slot open because I was thinking of actually doubling up on defense with Ederson and Ruben. But then I thought, no, I want that that luxury of selecting whichever city mid I want to play around with. So I haven't really committed there. And of course, I mean, this team is exceptionally well set for 37. And bear in mind, we'll have 2 free transfers before 37 as well.
Yeah.
So you can always get any player of your choice, really. It's fine.
Yeah. Richarlison, by the way, as noted by Oxlane, is a midfielder. Of course he is. My bad. Is listed as a midfielder. Yeah. Yeah. Midfield spots that feel like they're going to be precious. I do think, like, I mean, we're putting Nico Jackson in just because we've got a spare Chelsea attacker, but no one really wants him. Go on, big man. What are you saying?
What I really like about this team is that not only is the bench boost in 37 looking strong, 35 and 36, especially 35 is looking really strong. It's looking very strong.
I mean, 35, you've got 6 doublers.
6 doublers, and other players are playing Burnley at home and Sheffield United at home.
In triple Newcastle for their Sheffield United at home, and then Man United. Yeah, it looks really strong.
Ridiculously
just tell
strong,
me,
yeah.
Gabriel, where does he play? He plays against Bournemouth in 36. Is he on the bench in 35 and 37 then, yeah?
Yeah, I'll bench him in 35 and 37.
Yeah. And then 38, I don't even know where we're at 38. Don't know, but we can think about 38 when that comes round. But looking at this team for 35, 36, 37, it's a really strong team in 35. We've just said that. It's clearly an amazing bench boost. And in 36, fixtures also land quite kindly. Chelsea play West Ham. Yeah, sure, Spurs go to Liverpool. So maybe you're benching some of the Spurs players. You got Man City versus Wolves at home. United go to Palace. Newcastle go to Burnley. I think you still start 1 or 2 of them. Gabriel as Bournemouth. Yeah, it's tasty.
Exactly. Tasty. And, you could even, let's say there's this Maddison slot. You can hokey in that slot. Let's say if there are no injuries, nothing, you can just sell Maddison for a guy with a great fixture in 36 and get disbursement back in 37. That's fine as well. To avoid that Liverpool fixture, basically.
It's the first time I've looked at wildcard 35, even though I'm doing it. First time I've looked at a team. And I'm a bit sad because this is so really nice. I'm sad because it's so good that it will be so template, and it will be very difficult to go too far away from. You can go away from this in terms of personnel, of course you can, but in terms of teams, and therefore FPL points will probably be similar. Like, yes, you might go Madueke instead of Jackson, or you might go Richarlison instead of Maddison. But in terms of where we're allocating funds and the teams we're going for, this is very much going to be, I think, the template. But I guess you have
to. I think the edge will not be against the game week 37. The game week 35 wildcarders. It will basically be against those people who are wildcard. That's where you're basically gaining, because this team is still quite a way different from the template that we're seeing right now.
It is. It really is. Like getting to triple Newcastle and stacking up on United. Yeah, it really is different. Getting as Man City defender in.
Exactly, because the teams you see right now, they have Liverpool. They're Liverpool heavy. They're Bournemouth heavy. They're Arsenal heavy.
Yeah, and they might have some Spurs and Chelsea. Some that have wildcarded in the last couple of weeks will have a good sprinkling of Chelsea and Spurs, but they won't have United. Exactly. They won't have Newcastle.
Basically, there you go.
Yeah, no, looking good, man. Well, we'll have a look at this as we get closer to wildcard 35. We'll keep this up our sleeve and maybe show you updated drafts, and we'll compare to see how our mind may have changed in the last couple of weeks, because things happen. Let's have a look at your team then, big man. We've got a screen grab version of it. What you're doing? I mean, captain's a non-event this week. We don't need to discuss that too much. But what are you doing in terms of forward planning and transfers?
I think there are 2 ways I can go.
Do you not use the app on your phone? Do you use Safari? Do you go through Safari for your team?
I do. I have the app. I don't really use it that much. There are 2 ways I can go. Firstly, actually, there are 3 ways. The first way is that I can, and this is the plan I'm leaning towards. The plan I'm leaning towards is to sell Porro for Van Dijk this week. Now, okay. I'll forever be grateful to Porro for his 11-pointer, but I think I am struggling to see his utility in my team in the weeks to come before I wildcard. The Spurs have a tough fixture away to Newcastle this week, then they have a blank. And Van Dijk gets me a great fixture this week as well as a good double next week, and I can just basically set and forget him because he's not really down for minutes. So I think this is the most balanced solution in my team, and then next week I can go Santa Eze. That's basically my aim. Basically, Porro to Virgil now, Santa Eze next week.
I like that.
Captain will be Haaland. The second scenario I'm considering is if I save a transfer, and that could happen. If I save a transfer, I can then do Haaland to Darwin and Son to Eze. But that way I'll have to play Zabarni. So it's basically a comparison between Zabarni and Darwin versus Haaland and Van Dijk. And I personally prefer Haaland and Van Dijk, which is why I prefer the original plan as opposed to this plan. But again, the good thing about the second plan is that you can have 2 free transfers. So if there's any injury or something, you can then have more flexibility. And the third option is if in case we get a league that Haaland isn't starting, then I can sell Haaland for Darwin, and then I can captain Salah. That's what I'm considering.
Yeah, but we're never getting that leak. We're never getting the leak that Haaland's. Well, we could do it's 3:00, but to do that, you would need. Yeah, but to do that, you would need a leak that Darwin is also starting. If you see Darwin starts Thursday,
I'll take the risk.
Would you? I don't think I would. If Darwin starts Thursday, there's no way I could take that risk.
The thing is that, I hear you, but in that case, I would want to have Darwin for 34 because if he gets
a rest in 34. Yeah,
if he gets the rest this week, then he's more likely to play both games in 34. Right?
Haaland's not missing out against Luton, though, is he? He's just had his rest.
I mean,
he scored 5 against Luton recently,
especially with the generous turnaround. But it's still like a possibility.
It's a possibility. It's a slim one. But from those 3 options, big man, are you likely to go with option 1? I mean, option 1 gives you immediate returns. Short.
I mean, option 3 is not really an option. It's basically a contingency plan if we hear that Haaland is benched, right?
Yeah. But option 1 gets you reward straight away. It feels like Virgil over Porro this week makes a lot of sense. I guess my caveat to it is if Trent was around and you didn't make that move and you thought, and Trent's back on Thursday night in the squad, which you'll know by the time you make your transfer, maybe by going Van Dijk, you block that. You are blocking the Trent move in 34 if we think Trent is good for 2 starts in 34. So you could argue, is it better to roll and then have 2 transfers up your sleeve?
I agree. That's a good point. But I think as of now, I don't think that just because Trent is just coming back from fitness, I just don't think that he's going to start all fixtures in quick succession. I think he's going to miss a fixture or 2. And again, I mean, it's the same logic as Robertson, right? You don't really want to go there because he's at risk. So might as well go with the guy who's likely to start. And my keeper is Areola. If he's not fit, I'm content to go with Neto.
How do you feel about the Bournemouth defence going into the Man United game? Like, genuinely, who's favourites to win that football match? It's pretty even, isn't it?
I actually checked the odds, and they're exactly the same. I mean, literally exactly the same. Literally exactly the same. So it's very difficult to split between the 2 sides. I would expect Neto to make some saves. I'm honestly not ruling out a Bournemouth clean sheet in this fixture. Could see some jam in this fixture.
Not at home.
Yeah.
Not at home. I'm not ruling it out completely. Like, there's a chance in which I'll have Zabarni and Neto. Like, would you play Neto or Dubravka? You play Neto, right?
Bournemouth beat them 3-0 away, just by the way, as well.
Yeah.
So, sorry, what was the question? Dubravka or Neto? That's the question?
Yeah, you'd play Neto over Dubravka, wouldn't you?
I mean,
Spurs definitely score.
I mean, it's tricky. It's a 50-50 call. I mean, you could get lucky with Dubravka as well because he tends to make a lot of saves too. And Spurs aren't the kind of team that I trust as such. I mean, they can have their off days as well. So I think it's a coin flip. Personally, I think I'd play Dubravka very marginally, but it's very close.
Oh man, I've getting the goalkeepers wrong a lot at the moment. Like getting Dubravka's 9 points from my bench this week was killer when Neto obviously didn't haul. Okay, yeah, no, looks like you're well set, mate. I like that. Haaland captain, unless we hear otherwise. If we were to hear otherwise that he wasn't starting, straight to Salah?
Salah, of course.
No Palmer or Saka contention there. It would just be straight to Salah.
No, straight to Salah. Yeah, easy.
Agreed. Yeah, me too. I have memories of him scoring a lot against Palace. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Likes and subscribes, so welcome. Please don't just hear that and go, that's fine, move on. Genuinely, if you're not subscribed to the channel, hit those buttons. Dean and I will be back on Friday. Big Man will be back next Wednesday, I guess?
Yes, we'll be back next Wednesday.
Oh, actually, mate, next Wednesday, gosh, I've not even told the guys at CGA this. I am flying to Miami on Wednesday. FPL Gooner is in the chat, who I'm going to meet up with. So, I would love to stream on Tuesday if that works for you.
Sure, of course, no problem. Done.
Might do
You
Tuesday.
accommodated me this week, so that's the least I can do for you, man. No problem.
Yeah, thank you. And the reason we're streaming Tuesday, not Wednesday, big man, am I right in thinking Eid is tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean it could be tomorrow, day after, but the celebrations will begin irrespective. So
Nice.
I'll be sort of busy in those celebrations. So yeah, that's why we're recording today.
Nice. Well, enjoy your day tomorrow and Thursday.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to seeing what you do on Friday with your transfers. I wonder if Van Dijk will be in. If he does come in, then yeah, it'll be so big.
What are your thoughts? I mean, what would you do? I assume you're still favoring the Van Dijk transfer in my own team, or would you say?
I'd get the points. I'd get the points this week, and then next week, if you really do want Darwin, you make a 4-point hit. I think I'd go Porro out because I can't. Lightning's not going to strike twice with a Porro goal, is it? I mean, it's so hard to predict, but I can't see Spurs keeping a clean at St James's. So, yeah, Van Dijk in.
Sure.
Yeah. If Trent features off the bench on Thursday night, I would be tempted to hold a week in with an idea that he could play both in 34. We'll know more because we'll have another game against Atalanta. We'll have the Crystal Palace game to scout that situation. And therefore, I probably wouldn't go Van Dijk if Trent's in Thursday's squad. But yeah. Nice. All right then, guys. Thank you so much for watching. For now, he's been Big Man. You lot have been the amazing FPL chasers. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, very good luck this game week. Dean and I'll see you Friday. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.